Well, thank everyone for coming out to tonight's town council meeting. Wait 1 second. Got your audio on. There we go. If everyone could please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us pray. Holy God, we thank you for this evening and this opportunity to gather. You are a God of order and you are a God of prosperity. And so we pray that God, tonight, as this council convenes, as people come to share their views, Lord, that your spirit will be over all of us. We thank you for those who come to serve our town. We pray for wisdom for them. We pray for health. And we pray, God, that all that is done this night is honoring you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Now call the meeting to order. If we could have roll call.
Silas Devaney,
Here.
David Queequeg, Daniel Bragg, Eric Gifford,
Here.
Levi Strauch,
Here.
Lon Stone,
Here.
Michael Foot. We do have a quorum.
Thank you. Approval of the minutes from the January 20th meeting. Everybody had a chance to review those. Questions, comments? If not,
I move we approve the minutes of January 20.
have a motion and a second as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Passes.
Mr. President, if I may, one addition to your agenda tonight is under old business. Action item number 3. Just you have had or you have those documents in your folder, but I did not list it on the agenda
Okay.
for lack of knowledge of where to best place it. So it's still on the record.
Well, we will start with old business. We'll start with Ron shutting his phone off. Because we didn't.
Everybody reaches in, double check.
Turn it on. Do not disturb. Now's a good time for everyone to silence their phones.
The movie theater.
That was Travis Stern calling you. Wasn't it? He's back there. All right, first item up is ordinance 2026-01, amending a fee schedule.
This is a second reading of an ordinance that was originally presented at the January 20th meeting. In the meantime, there has been one amendment to the fee schedule. It is under police department, temporary event officer, $60 per hour event. And on to that.
I was not at,
That's great.
I was not present at that meeting, so I will let council have discussion or. I didn't hear you.
I really don't have anything additional to add to the fee schedule. I think Zach presented the only change that we had from the last time this was before you.
Concerning fiscal impact to the town, if there's been an estimate of increased revenue utilized for similar years in the past, what is the anticipated fiscal impact?
We did not do that level of analysis. Reason being is there's a lot right now going on in the state legislature that may change some of this. So we didn't want to put the effort in until we kind of knew where the state fell out and what changes we would have to make as a result.
Thank you. And then concerning the temporary event officer, I presume this is police.
Yes.
How will this be administered? Is this the town is providing a police officer? Or is this a fee as is typical to where the event is informed that they will be required to have an officer and this is what that officer needs to be paid?
That is correct. So it basically takes the town out of it and is paid directly to that officer.
I wanted to make sure that that wasn't going to be an issue with payroll and overtime with the rest of them.
It is not.
Thank you, Chief. That was what.
There's no further discussion. Entertain a motion. Vote.
Will you make it a motion to adopt as amended?
I'll make a motion. We adopt ordinance number 2026-1 as amended.
I'll second that motion.
There's been a motion and a second as presented. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. 2025 CCMG bid award. Have Director Kirby come on up.
Good evening. You should have all received a packet with the 2025 CCMG bids. There is a spreadsheet that shows all of the bids marked out. Banning, our engineers, have looked over all the bids and they have recommended to the board to award the bid to Howard Companies for a total of $661,901. That's the low bid, so certainly entertain any questions.
Any questions?
Not for the audience, that was indeed the low bid. There were no qualifications with that. I appreciate Banning and Director Kirby looking that over. There were some discrepancies with the bids.
Entertain the motion.
I'll make a motion. We accept the bid from Howard Companies in the amount of $661,901 for the community crossings work.
A second.
A motion and a second as presented. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed? Passes. Thank you. And we'll have Mr. Higgins come up for the item number 3, ratification of year-end appropriation transfers.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the council. This is the first of at least 4 times that I will grace the podium this evening. I told you at the last meeting I would have more to report on. I'm hopeful that this is the easiest of the 4 items, and I'm hoping they're all 4 easy, but this would be the easiest. This is, as you'll recall, just year-end bookkeeping that took place where we had appropriation balances within funds, within line items, within departments, where some were overdrawn, some had excess dollars. And we asked your approval to move some of those dollars around and then to report back to you and to ratify the actions that the clerk took at the end of the year. I shared with Mr. Bertrand, who put into your packets, I believe, the email that I shared with the clerk towards the end of December. There were 3 things that had to be done in that email. First, when we looked at the appropriation report that was prepared, we needed to post the additional appropriations that you approved at the December meeting. Those hadn't been posted yet into the records. And so that was the first action item that I asked the clerk to do. That doesn't require ratification. It's just part of the instructional email that I gave to the clerk. There were 3 funds that required to have appropriations transferred. One was the local road and street fund. The other was the police fund. And those, again, just reconciling those out, and then the general fund within the department. And the report that is attached shows the various transfers that went from line item to line item to bring everything back into a 0 balance. And so it was all just minor housekeeping, was all posted and done before year end so that there were no appropriations at the end of the year that showed a negative balance. There were some that had very low balances, but there were no negative balances there. And so the action for this evening to satisfy the Board of Accounts when they come in to do their audit is, was the council aware? Did they approve? And so we're asking for your ratification this evening of the actions that the clerk took.
Council is authorized by statute to approve something, ratify actions previously taken by any officer of the town or others retroactively. So a motion here would be to ratify the transfer of appropriations formed by the clerk treasurer retroactively to December 31.
Yes.
Any questions for Mr. Higgins?
This is all 2020.
All 2025.
Brian, can you say that again?
Yes, ratify the transfer, the year-end transfers by the clerk treasurer retroactively to December 31. Ratifies, not approved, but ratifies, keyword.
I'll move that we ratify the year-end transfers by the clerk treasurer.
Second.
Retroactively to December 31.
Retroactively.
Do we need the date on there?
Second.
Yes, they do need the date on there, 12/31. He said it.
Okay.
Said it.
We have a motion and a second as presented. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed?
Perfect. Thank you.
We'll see you shortly.
Yes, sir.
All right. Is there any other old business? Do we consider commissions appointing to the commission's old business? Do we
I
want
don't
to
know
go
if
ahead
it
and,
matters. You're, any council appointments, obviously, we take.
so let's go ahead and do that. We've got a few spots to fill. Sheridan Plan Commission. There is only one member that is currently up for renewal, and that would be Mike Keenholz, which currently is president of Plan Commission. That is a municipal executive appointment. So I would like to appoint Mike Keenholz back to the Plan Commission. And he's here. Nod. There. There, it's
He's
done.
not looking for the door, so.
So there's one. RDC, the Redevelopment Commission. We have two opening, well, no. Everyone on RDC is only a one-year term. So currently there's Austin Williams, Daniel Bragg, Andrew Porterfield, Dan Lyons, and Corbin Ells. Corbin Ells has removed himself from continuing on or
Yes.
wanting to continue on.
Indicated last meeting was his last meeting.
Yep. So let's start with the municipal executive. There's three: Austin Williams, Daniel Bragg, and Andrew Porterfield. I spoke to Austin Williams last year to get him involved. He has a business on Main Street. He wanted his son, Rhett, who's taking the business over, to be it. I convinced Dad to do it so he could lean on him. So Rhett Williams, Daniel Bragg, Andrew Porterfield are the three that I would like to appoint to that board under my authority.
Is it RET?
RHETT.
Or, I'm sorry.
HETT. I'll email out the contact. Andrew Porterfield. I'll email you guys all their names and contact info. So by the power invested in me, congratulations. There. Dan Lyons was picked up from halfway through due to an opening. That was a legal body appointee. And Corbin Ells is a legal body. I don't think you guys have done any research on this, but Dan Lyons, I would highly recommend keeping on. He's only been on it for what, 60 days or something.
It's been engaged. And that's a good question.
Yep. And then Garrett Gossard, who's sitting in the back left in the red shirt. He's also running for a town council position, so what better time to get him involved in politics here? So those would be my two names that I would recommend for these two spots. But this would require a vote from the council.
I don't have any additional names to add.
And go ahead and make a motion for Dan Lyons and
I so move. Well, so I'll make a motion that Garrett Gossard and Dan Lyons take place on RDC.
second.
Yes, seconded.
Got a motion and a second as presented. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Congratulations. Department of Stormwater Management, Steve Fisher is the only member of that board that is up for renewal. Vance Wallace, Donovan Moistner are currently on that. I think you're gonna get a little more busy this year, so. I did talk to Steve Fisher, he'd like to stay on it since that was kind of what got him involved. If anybody has any other names, but this is a legal body, so you need a motion.
I'll make a motion, we appoint Steve Fisher to the Stormwater Board.
I'll second that.
Got a motion and a second as presented. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Passes. Metropolitan Board of Police Commissioners, Steve Fisher is currently the president of that. His term is also up and he would like to stay on that. Do you have any concerns with Steve Fisher being on that? Okay. So, again, this is legal body. It's Steve Fisher, myself, and Steve Leonard. I am the next one. Actually, Steve Leonard is up as well. So Steve and Steve, you're okay with those?
Absolutely.
It's gone smooth so far.
It has.
So unless you guys have any other recommendations. Entertain a motion.
Make a motion that Steve Fisher and Steve Leonard stay on the police commissioner board.
Second.
Have a motion and a second as presented. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? That passes. I think that covers all of the appointments.
Mr. Nicely's working on a master list with council. Appointing authority, person appointing authority term for everything that we can find.
I've got a spreadsheet I will send you that
Perfect.
has what I'm going by. There may be corrections, but I'll send you it's a good starting point. I think that's it. We've got some park board position to figure out, but we'll do that next meeting. I believe all of the park board is current. They are all current. We have one opening potentially, but we have to verify.
For the school board appointee.
Well, that's the individual, the school thinks they have appointed one, and on my list, this body appointed that person. So we're one short. We just need to decide, is it us or is it the school? So other than that, that is all I have for that, and we can move on to new business. I think let me find my place here. Item number 1, Miller Pipeline encroachment permit request.
This encroachment permit is in relation to the State Road 47 project that is set to start this upcoming summer. I have invited Miller Pipeline here.
Yeah.
Go ahead and come on up here, sir.
Hi there, my name is Joe Barkis, representing Miller Pipeline. We have a change of construction. I believe I'm filling in, so I'm doing my best here with the prints that I got. But I believe the permit is for this change of construction right here at 10th Street where where it meets Park. We used a hydrovac truck to spot some of the utilities in that area, and we found about a bunch of concrete. At one place, there was like a 9-foot wall almost of concrete. So that is the reason for the change of construction that's going on. We're gonna go up Park and back down Monon Trail to tie on.
Sir, can you describe where along the Monon Trail, you kind of give us a characterization how that install will be bored, open cut? Will you be within the boundary of the town's ownership of the trail?
I have the print here.
Is
You
it
guys would like a copy of it?
12.
Yes.
Where's this again?
12.
Sheets 11 and 12.
Are we bored? Or open cut?
If they can bore it, they're going to. I am not sure because I have not walked this section. What their actual plans are, but boring is definitely the option we want to take. Not sure it shows.
Regardless, there would be an opening at the intersection of Park and the Monarch, as that's gonna be a greater than 30-degree connection. They're gonna have to open cut that. That's at the crossroad. You don't have any as constructed plans for that.
I don't. I just have the same print you guys have.
Mr. Paddock, have you had any inquiry with other members of CenterPoint or Miller Pipeline, how they're gonna handle this?
The application that I received said that they would be boring it the majority of the way. Looking at that print, I do concur with Councilman Foot that there's no way around that. They're gonna have to open cut that and at the angle that they're wanting to turn.
So the obvious concerns are that trail was just constructed. And is there gonna be a disruption to trail usage, meaning a detour that's gonna be needed? So those are findings that I think the council would like to know, or please put conditions on this permit with your approval.
Be hesitant. She personally put conditions in a permit without a site visit with representatives from the company having expertise or our planning and development department. That's going to be a close operation right there. There's going to be some damages.
Yeah, I'm not real thrilled to open up our brand new Monon Trail. I mean, anytime we break up new asphalt, but you don't instill a lot of confidence in me. You seem like you're looking at this for the first time, like some of us are, so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm
so-
filling in, so.
Always gonna be for,
He drew the short
and
straw.
specific location for the optional counter with the original right of way, original alignment and pipeline.
What I was told was that we were using a vac truck to spot certain utilities in the area. Every single spot hole that we opened, we encountered concrete. So for the safety of the pipe, because I think our plan was to bore through there. For the safety of our pipe, we can't do that. So that was the reason for the change of construction.
What specific location are they?
In between Park and the Monon Trail along 10th Street,
On the north, south side.
north side.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think this needs to be tabled the next meeting
I
after
think-
further
yeah.
review by Plan Commission and Mr. Paddock.
If this were being installed on the south side of the trail, it'd be less of a permit. This, to your point, open cut, they're gonna have to open up the trail that we just constructed. If I'm reading the print correctly.
We need to find a different way to do whatever you need to do besides breaking open that Monon Trail.
Just been there 6 months ago, right?
Not even that long.
Okay.
You need a motion to table or?
I'll move that we table until such investigation conducted by the planning department.
Second.
A motion and a second as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Pass.
Get to work, Mr. Paddock, figure it out. Yes, sir.
Resolution 2026-05 granting CenterPoint easement.
This came through Jennifer, and actually the request was what resulted in Mr. Paddock realizing that there was digging going on out there and there was no permit. So this is a request from CenterPoint for pipeline easement. They had added, we received one of these from them in 2025, and I kind of rewrote their easement to include indemnification for use of it, since I was involved in a pipeline below in Lawrence 25 years ago. There's no indemnification for that for the local unit, and they made those changes. And if I have a signature copy, they obviously can't work on that particular spot until they get their permit. The easement will be in place.
Discussion?
Yeah, we've been through this before where the exhibit says $1, but the contract says.
That is customary and, generally put in a recorded instrument exactly what the price is of a house or anything else. It's a dollar and other valuable consideration, which is another $4,000. So you can see at the end, they valued it at $4,712.86. That part will be signed, but will not be part of the recording, I doubt. So.
Where precisely is this alignment for the easement? It appears to almost precisely mimic the alignment of the Mahan Trail in the exact place where we were just discussing the Miller pipeline encroachment.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, that'd be great.
They're tandem documents,
Oh.
it appears.
And why did Paddock leave?
No idea.
Apologize, I think he was just here for the one item. I don't know that he realized that this item also contained.
Oh, we're tabling the other one. Be fitting to table this one too, right?
I agree.
They're the same, the same deal.
Or is the construction already underway here? Is this something that's in place?
That's information I don't have. That would be the inspector that just left. Had that information. Maybe Jen does.
I'm sorry, I can say that work has not started in this area. They are actually waiting on this approval of this particular easement before they start anything. So my apologies that our staff member stepped out. We will follow up on the initial request regarding the investigation about the trail impact as well as this easement. I just don't have enough information to provide you at this point.
They were in a big hurry on this originally, but
They were, if this is part of that open cut though,
yeah,
they can wait.
yeah.
Then please make sure that they wait.
We will.
Ms. Miller, if you would convey to Mr. Paddock, I don't know on the southern terminus of this, but it seems as though there could be an effort for them to relocate their pipeline to the south side of the Monon Trail. That might alleviate a lot of concern that's been expressed here tonight. So that's for Brian to discern, or at least get them to commit to. If they're not obligated to be on the north side for whatever reason where their connection's at, it seems like it would buffer our concerns of being on the south side.
Absolutely. I will make a note of that and discuss that with him tomorrow.
Thank
you. Entertain a motion to table.
I'll move the table resolution number 2026-05.
Second.
A motion and second as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Passes. Resolution 2026-06, amending article of incorporation for Sheridan.
The Sheridan Community Development Corporation was established in 2020. And the appointees to the CDC by the council are President Devaney, Daniel Bragg, and Todd Bertrand. There's been no activity for the CDC during those 5 years, and then an opportunity has been presented for purchase of 4 acres that we have discussed here a couple of times before. It's the 4-acre former I hesitate to call it.
That's what it is.
Well, 4-acre dump for the town that is at the west end of 6th Street. And very favorable terms have been negotiated. A $66,000 contract was executed by the CDC this afternoon, part of this meeting. And be looking at everything, and cleaning up everything for the CDC, new articles, new bylaws. The previous articles required that any amendment to the articles had to be approved by the town council and the redevelopment commission. The redevelopment commission has approved the amendment, which included removing the redevelopment as a party that had to authorize an amendment. That comes off of a Carmel document back when they had a problem between the town council and RDC. It was literally a copy of that. So this amendment is substantially the same as the original articles. It removes the RDC approval requirement in the future so that if there are other changes in the future, it can be done a little bit more streamlined.
We do need to take action.
You have to adopt the resolution for the amendment to the articles to be effective, yes.
This resolution requires suspension rules.
No, resolutions could be adopted on a single, it's ordinances that require that.
This is the only change.
There was minor, I put some additional powers in there that are customary for Community Development Corporation, but nothing very substantive. And their role is to assist the town and the redevelopment commission in development of the town of Sheridan. So they can be used for a variety. We discussed kind of the purposes they can be used for. Carmel uses one for all kinds of things. It owns a substantial portion of public property there and leases it to the city. It owns city-owned property, was transferred to public CDC. They can operate without some of the, they can lease property without going through the kind of burdensome public leasing process. There's just a variety of things that can happen with the Community Development Corporation. This one is just purchasing property right now, so.
And these members are appointed at their authority.
The authority of the town council.
And they can be removed at pleasure of.
At any time, yes.
Any other questions?
I'll make a motion, we approve resolution number 2026-06, approving amended and updated articles for the Sheridan Community.
Second.
A motion and second as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Passes.
I did
Eric. Item number 4, resolution 2026-07, authorizing temporary loans. Mr. Higgins.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the council. This resolution authorizes a temporary loan to be made from the Indiana American Spider TIF account to the motor vehicle highway account in the amount of $225,000. And such loan to be repaid with the June tax settlement that we'll get. If you'll recall last year, the first year of reorganization, we did temporary loans for 2 funds, for the MVH fund and the police fund. We'll talk about the police fund in another matter. But the MVH fund still has a need, primarily driven by the timing of the Sherco contract, that we need to lay out $157,000 at the first of the year. There's not $157,000 in the account. There will be as we get monthly distributions of motor vehicle highway money and property tax. And so this is a cash flow issue. As you'll recall, the temporary loans we did last year, we took out of the utility funds. I'm trying to stay away from, as a matter of record, touching the utility funds that are there. And so we looked at where else are there funds of the town that could be used for such a transaction for a temporary loan piece. The Spider TIF seemed to make sense as a place that we could go to for that. Keep the utility funds separate. And so again, standard housekeeping, authorizing a 6-month loan to cash flow the needs of the motor vehicle highway department. And I think that then after this year, we'll be off of this idea of needing to have temporary loans, but it's just the expansion of what we're doing through the reorganization and the strain on the cash flow at the time. So would appreciate your approval and would be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Mr. Higgins?
Got a couple.
Ask away.
The spider tip. Yeah, we used the utility ones last time. I don't remember how much money is sitting in the spider tip. Will this loan put any?
It will not have a hamper on the activity of the redevelopment commission for the 6-month period. I want to say offhand, and I would ask the clerk to correct me if I'm wrong. I think there's a little over $900,000 in the spider TIF as of the end of the year. So I don't think it impacts the cash flow there at all.
I know like last year we had kind of first half of the year, second half of the year. Do you think this will have to happen again?
I'm hopeful that it doesn't. If it does, then we'll come back and, and I'll be back here again in June to talk about what a need is. But the idea is that no, we would not have to have. We'll just manage cash flow to the extent that we can.
Okay. And then, is this related at all to the next two items or
They're similar, but not related. That's best I can, and I'll talk about those two. And I can do that now if you want, but I didn't want to confuse the matter.
One of these upcoming looks like what happened last year, but without the loan piece. So I didn't want to make a decision on this one if it was connected.
So I'll talk about that briefly.
And then just for point of order, which instrument are we talking about? 26?
We're talking about 2608.
2608.
And this is the permanent transfer for the police fund. I think that's what you're talking about, Counselor, is.
Yeah, there's an ordinance that follows that is also related, I think, to these, but yes.
So in the process of getting the 2026 budget from the Department of Local Government Finance, they took exception to the temporary loan that was in the forecast for the police fund to do cash flow. If you'll remember last year, we needed cash flow, especially in the police fund, in that we were incurring expenses upon the creation of the new town and weren't going to receive property tax revenues until June. So we were operating as spending money without having necessarily revenue in place. And we executed a temporary loan.
Which I assume that money
Was repaid, it came through and was repaid substantially by year end. The DLGF looked at that and said, well, since this temporary loan that you're using to fund your budget has to be repaid at the end of the year, we don't want to consider it. And at the last minute, they just said, we're going to cut the police budget. So they cut the police budget $350,000. Now, the same logic was used for the motor vehicle highway fund, that we had a planned transfer built into the budget. And they didn't take that exception on the MVH fund. I wasn't going to be in a position, I didn't want to be in a position to argue for one and say, well, you approved it for this, for fear that they'd go in and make that go away too, and we'd be talking about something totally different. So we kind of kept those separate. And so if they would have looked at both, they would have done another cut to the MVH fund, and we would be talking about a similar issue that we're going to deal with in the next resolution. But at the end of the year, at the time we were looking to get a budget approved, and then they just said, no, we're not going to allow this to happen. Seemed to be really odd. So we had to come up with another way to fund that. And I think we figured that out. So they are related, but this is a temporary loan that will be repaid. The next resolution, they're talking about transfers of dollars, one which will not be repaid. It will be a permanent transfer.
Thank you. That answers enough for the loan.
Okay. I'm sure there'll be questions on the next, and I'm prepared for that.
And he stated that previous year's loan was substantially repaid. I know that's a key word for probably some of our people that are watching.
It is a keyword. And so we got to a point, we paid back out of the police fund all but $110,000 of it. That there wasn't adequate cash to make that happen. And so we paid back what we could as to not take the cash into a negative balance. And this gets to be one of these issues where the state says if you make a temporary loan, it has to be repaid by the end of the year. There's that provision. There's also provision that says there's no authority to end a fund in a negative balance at the end of the year. So which do you want? Do you want to get hit in the left hand or the right hand? And in consultation with the clerk, we opted to repay the loan back substantially, to have a minimal cash balance so that we weren't in a deficit. And we'll deal with how we plan to deal with that in the next resolution, but.
Thank you.
Any further questions?
I'll make a motion to authorize temporary loan resolution 2026-07.
Second.
Have a motion and a second as presented. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed? Passes. Resolution 2026-08, authorizing transfer of funds.
Okay. So this comes into twofold, and I'll break them up into two separate issues. I'll deal with the latter one first, which is the motor vehicle highway account as it relates to additional snow removal costs for 2025. And Director Kirby can address this more eloquently than I can, but we purchased 15 inches of snow removal last year, and we actually had 27. So we were 12 inches over. That and the additional salt had a cost of $252,600. And that bill is due. And it's not in, we didn't contemplate that when we fixed the budget, that we were going to have a massive snow at the end of the year. Nobody could contemplate that. There's not a need to buy additional snow removal up front because the cost per unit going over is the same. If we would have paid the higher amount at the beginning of the year and it didn't snow, money out the door. You don't get a credit for that. So it's let's buy 15 inches. And if it goes over, it goes over, and we'll deal with that. And the question becomes, how do we pay this? Right? And everybody's first thought goes, well, we can go to the utility funds and take it from there. Well, again, the idea is not to keep going back to the utility funds for this. And after having a conversation with Mr. Kirby, Mr. Patron, we suggested the rainy day fund is a spot for that to be because we put money aside for a rainy day. It didn't rain in Sheridan, but it snowed. Same thing, different form. And so the idea would be to satisfy that need by spending it from the rainy day fund. And then we can replenish the rainy day fund with excess funds that we may have year over year. But that's a better suited place to spend that from rather than going to the proceeds from the sale of the utilities. So what this resolution does is transfers, in one instance, money from the rainy day fund to the motor vehicle highway fund. And then as part of a subsequent resolution after a public hearing on the additional appropriations this evening, we would appropriate that 252.6 to make that payment to Sherco for the additional snow removal. That's item number one. Item number two deals with the police fund. And in order to satisfy the DLGF that we're not funding our piece through a temporary loan, and quite honestly, we should have done this last year rather than do the temporary loan, but we had to make the fix to get on and move on. I am suggesting that we make a permanent transfer of money from the utility funds in the amount of $470,000. That's $235,000 from each utility to the police fund, at which time immediately $110,000 will come back to the utility funds to finish paying the loan so that we're back to square. So it's not a net. We're going to gross it up and pay 470 over, take 110 immediately back so that we satisfy that loan. The remaining $350,000 is going to be used to fix this idea of constantly being 6 months behind in the revenue. That's roughly half of our police levy. Want to make it perfectly clear. It's not that the police department's overspending its money or that it's costing more than we anticipated. It is just from the get-go, we have had to incur expenses that we don't get revenue for until the end of the year. If you look at the calendar year as a whole, we bring in $700,000, we spend $700,000. It's just our revenue comes in after the expenditures. And we don't have that ability to have that initial cash flow. This fixes that because it puts us on course. We'll end the year with a fund balance. We'll start next year. And it just puts us even keel. And again, that's what we should have done last year, but we didn't.
And had the DLGF.
Had the DLGF not done what they did, we would be doing this with a series of temporary loans. We would have addressed it. But then I would guarantee you next January, I would be back in front of you asking for a temporary loan. And 3 Januaries from now, I'd be asking for a temporary loan to solve this. So we can keep doing this on into the future, but let's just fix it. Let's just do that fix, take care of it, and we're done. And that's what this purports to do. And then in the next item that I have a little later, the $360,000 that's left restores the appropriation cuts that we had to make to the chief's budget as we started 2026. And I explained that to the chief when we started that, don't fret. We're reducing some of your budget at the beginning because that's what the state told us we had to do, and we'll replenish it with these additional appropriations if the council takes the action that needs to be taken. So we'll restore his budget and everything will be fine. And hopefully then this matter is taken off the table and doesn't come back. I'm not going to have to stand up here every year or every 6 months and ask for a temporary loan for the police department.
We talked about this last year, and yeah, I like the idea of just putting the money up front, even if it lowers our cash reserves. Because it's something that we need, and we don't want to keep shifting money from one pocket to the other.
I mean, the other thing we could have done at the time was just fund the first 6 months of the police department in total out of the general fund, and then wait for the money to follow. But that would have taken $300,000 or more out of the general fund balance that we wouldn't get back. And we would most likely then have to make cuts to the general fund because we'd have $300,000 less coming in. So it's all a matter of how you want to go about funding it. The state just said, no, we couldn't fund our budget request in the police fund with a temporary loan for cash flow
It seems like a
purposes.
good use of money for our reserves in these accounts. The fear then would just be that it's not sustainable to do that every year. So
Well, we shouldn't have to do it every year because again, if we did a temporary loan, we'd put money in, we'd pay it back. We'd end the year with no cash. We'd have to come back again to fund it. Fixing that 6-month period should then put them on par with where the fire fund is, where the general fund is, where the local road and street fund is, where all other funds are, that you have adequate cash to sustain cash flow.
Yeah, and if it works out that way, that would be good. Maybe another way of looking at this, I want to make sure from our budget standpoint that balances the incoming tax revenue and other revenue sources to meet our expenses. We spent a lot of time working on that to get that right. And then a lot of this feels, backdoor sounds almost too shady, but it's almost like the budget is a piece of this, but we've got a substantial amount of the budget that's not actually in the budget that we're funding through non-taxes.
No,
Is that- how would you
I don't think so.
Yeah, how would you-
The fund stands on its own. It's the timing of the cash flow. It's the fact that we're incurring expenses for 6 months before we see the first dollar. So it would be like you starting fresh, right? Or any of us starting fresh and have to make a mortgage payment, pay electric bills, do all that stuff, but you're not going to get your first paycheck on the job for 6 months. Right? Most of us go through starting a job, we don't get a check for 2 weeks or maybe 3 weeks. And we suffer through that period. But to say we're not going to have any revenue coming in for 6 months when we stand on our own is just difficult to sustain. we're fortunate enough that we have the ability to cash flow that. And to do that one-time fix. So I don't foresee this as, oh, we're putting money in today and next year we're gonna have to put more money in. I don't foresee that as being an issue. Because the police department, the fire department, the planning, everybody else is gonna have to learn to live within the revenue constraints that we have. And I will tell you, the revenue constraints we have today are nothing like the revenue constraints we're gonna have 2, 3, and 4 years from now, because the Senate rolled Act 1. Because I think it's going to impact our ability to generate property taxes.
No, and that's well said. So the resolution 2026-08 has 470 going into the police fund, 110 of which
Is immediately coming back.
So then there's a different amount in the ordinance 2026-02 for the police fund, the 316.
The 316 just accommodates the cuts that were made. And so I rounded up the extra money just to have a cash balance there. That's rounding.
And so underneath the police fund in the ordinance, such funds to support the additional appropriations will be derived from miscellaneous revenues and or unreserved obligated fund balances.
The miscellaneous revenue is the transfer.
All right, so it's going to point back to exactly these funds and that. transfer.
Yes. Because in order to satisfy the state that we have the funding to do these additional appropriations, we're going to have to show what the revenue source is. And I can show that the revenue source is a net $350,000 transfer into the fund. That's my miscellaneous revenue that supports that number.
That's good. Sorry, I'm almost done. You're
No,
doing a
no,
good job with the-
you're fine.
So also on this ordinance, there's general fund and local road and street fund dollars. Have we talked about those yet?
On that number, we can, if you want to. If you want to talk about that now while I'm up here, we can just.
Oh, well, yeah, no, that can wait if that's not related to. what-
It's not related to this at all.
That's what I was looking for.
No. This is related to that, but all that's not related to this. If that makes sense.
I got it before you said that.
Yeah, yeah. We have to do this in order to fund that, but there's some other parts of that that are, the funding's already there. We just need approval to do that.
Thank you.
Mr. Higgins, I stated the last time we spoke concerning snow removal specifically. It's unwise, in my opinion, to continue funding things based on the hope that both the snow underperforms and the hope that these funds are replenished in the rainy day fund based on income streams not necessarily substantiated at this time in the town's development. $250,000 year over year is a substantial amount of money.
It would,
However, we are locked into Sherco now for the next 3 years, and I understand that this may be a contingent thing. My second concern is that the utility funds continue to be the bastion of rescue. And I understand in this specific case, it is indeed like hitting a reset button on the moving forward, we can do better.
well, but it is and it isn't. So I want to make sure. The police fund, the one-time transfer that's a permanent fix, is the utility fund.
Right.
The snow removal issue is not. We're taking that from the rainy day
I'm
fund.
aware, we are.
Okay, so I
locked
want to
into
make sure that we're not going to the utility funds for snow removal.
I want, I would hate to see that occur.
Yes,
However, if the rainy day fund is depleted and not replenished, then there is one point of cash flow that is readily available, and it appears by a junior counselor who has been here very short time, appears to be available in the minds of certain people, and I could be way off on that. I want to make sure that that revenue stream for the town is not depleted. That is a direct revenue stream, that the money in that fund is used to offset the interest earned is used to offset additional taxation that could and might need to be made in the future.
I agree wholeheartedly. And what my intention is to propose in this upcoming budget, when we work on 2027 is that we should look at the snow removal contract in two contexts. I think that we should execute the 15 inches, but we should budget for more. We should plan on that and build within the budget that we're going to have to take on an additional 5 to 7 to 8 inches so that the money's there. And if it's not used, right, then we've got savings that maybe we flow back to the rainy day fund to save for the next year. But I think going forward, we have to plan as if there's more snow, execute a contract for less. And when those opportunities occur that we're not hitting that, we're moving that money over. That we're not budgeting for and contracting for a minimum amount and then having to pay an overage when it comes up. That may require some, cuts in other places to make sure that that works. And I've used this phrase 100 times today, and I'm really tired of using it, but I'll use it here. We may have to learn to do more with less in a couple of other ways but I'm with you. I agree wholeheartedly. We should be planning for overages and how they are to be covered. And they should be covered to the extent that it's in a rainy day fund and not anywhere else. The utility funds should be used for special one-time things like the renovation of this building, which I think Councilor Devaney pointed out that seemed to be and was deemed by this council to be an appropriate use. But it shouldn't be used to fund operations.
Correct.
I agree with that statement 100%.
And I reckon that is the concern of the constituency, and it's our job to. talk
Absolutely.
about that. I understand the reasoning for pulling this for the cessation of the need for continuing literally
Yeah.
continuing resolution every year to temporarily fund these. However, I would rather see it funded from cuts revenue. I was not part of that budget discussion, and that's fine. I don't understand what went into that. Just want to be sure that my statements up front are that I would much rather pursue the fiscal side of cutting rather than continuing to utilize these funds.
Right. And I would venture to say on the police department, if we had to go to the chief and ask him to cut $316,000 from his budget, that would be draconian. To say the least, right, to do that. And I don't think we could make cuts in other places to make that up. That's why I think this is a one-time transfer to that extent. And hopefully we never come back to revisit that again. The snow removal piece, though, I do agree with you. I think there's a way to plan for that into the future to see that that's not as impactful as this last year was.
Thank you. No further. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree with everything that Councilor Cook just said. Is there any, and that's pretty witty too, with the rainy day fund for the snow. I don't blame us too bad for not seeing that coming. That's a pretty incredible weather. Is there any legitimacy to that FEMA public assistance stuff, or is that for a recoup of?
Well, we can go back to that, but we've got a topic on the table right now.
Yeah, to the extent that we qualify for that because of the declaration that the governor made, if that comes up, we could get that, but we may not see that money if there was money for months.
I believe that's 75 cents on the dollar last
Yeah.
time I checked. Is that correct, Chief Stern? Yeah. But nonetheless, if it is cash flow back.
So that was, not to figure that out now.
No,
was
that would come back and that would go back into the fund that made the expenditure. So it would go into the MVH fund. And it could then flow into the rainy day fund to replenish that draw.
Any more discussion on resolution 2026-08?
I'll make a motion, we approve resolution 2026-08 as presented.
Sorry.
We have a motion and a second as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Passes. Thank you, Mr. Higgins.
You're welcome.
Resolution 2026-09, approving participation in employer match program for deferred compensation.
You currently have a plan in place that allows a deferred compensation plan, but the town is not authorized to match it. What this does is creates that ability for the the town to match deferred compensation to town employees. It's what's commonly referred to as a 401A or a sidecar account, so it attaches to that 457B plan. Which is Indiana code requires the town to pass a resolution in order to sustain it.
This already exists in our plan, we just don't have it properly approved.
Correct.
And it's been there and employees have been deferring.
So correct, partially correct, so. Town employees have the option of having a 457B plan. The town, there's no clean way for the town to match that deferred compensation, to match any contribution to that plan. This creates the ability for the town to match those contributions. Does that answer your question, or?
Maybe. How long has it been in effect with
The
employees?
457B plan, I can't answer that question.
So it's been going for years,
Yeah.
probably,
I would assume so.
It's not a new benefit.
but employees have been using it
Believe so.
Correct.
and the town hasn't been.
Hasn't been matching any contributions to that. They don't have the ability to do so.
The town matches the in-force contributions.
The public
of the
pension.
employees. This is a separate plan that the employees can put additional money into, aside from the in-force plan and 77 plan.
So this isn't anything that we need to budget for then.
Well, you will for your match that you're gonna do.
So if we put this in place now, how does that affect the 2026 budget?
Well, this has come about because you approved matching for an employee as part of their agreement. But our plan didn't accept that kind of thing, and that was not budgeted. It was budgeted for that either.
Come on back up to the podium.
So the amount of the proposed match, as I understand it, is capped at an amount not to exceed $3,000 for the calendar year.
Per employee,
For that particular employee, because that was in the contract.
okay.
So this is only for.
This
one
is only for
person.
one employee, as I understand it
Authorizes
today.
it For all employees.
But it authorizes it for all,
All employees, but there's only been one commitment to this.
right? And that's a commitment that you made contractually to obligate that. I don't think you've made a contractual obligation to match all employees' contributions. This authorizes you to do that if you so desire.
Would have to take action to council.
Right, to do that. But right now, we're talking about a $3,000 spend that we believe is in the budget. It just has to be moved from a line item to make that accommodation.
Understood. Any other questions on this?
I'll make a motion. We accept resolution number 2026-09 as presented.
Second.
The motion is second as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Passes. We have ordinance 2026-02 additional appropriations.
There has to be a public hearing, but I think maybe for council's edification and for the public to actually explain it prior to taking public comment might be beneficial. So we've already covered half of this, in that we've talked about the amount out of the local road and, or out of the MVH fund for the Sherco payment being funded with a transfer of money from the rainy day fund. And we've talked about the police department pieces that are going to be funded through a transfer from the utility funds. So this restores those. Those are the two items. The other two items that I'll go into, the local road and street fund is my fault. I will take the hit for that. When we advertise the budget at the beginning of the budget process, we put in a placeholder of $100,000 and we put that in the ad. And we said, we're going to adopt in a budget for the local road and street fund not to exceed $100,000. When we got to manipulating the entire budget, I had, in working with Director Kirby, said, well, we're going to spend $150,000 and you approved in your ordinance and it funded $150,000. We can't spend more than what we advertised for. So the DLGF cut the local road and street budget. Not that it couldn't be funded, but because of the issue of the advertising, said you can't go above $50,000. or $100,000. So we had to take a $50,000 cut. This additional appropriation restores that amount to what we originally budgeted and failed to advertise it at the time properly. So that's on me. And that's a correction of an error. The general fund monies, we found in looking at the public works budget, when we prepared the budget, the line item for retirement was underfunded. The amount that was reported to me was one number. I put in something less than that. As was the case with assistance of the director for shelter and public utilities, that they were appropriated in an amount less than what has been spent in the past. To the extent of those three items, $102,000. There's money in the budget for that. It's not like it wasn't contemplated. They just weren't in the right line items at the time. And so we're asking that those funds be appropriated out of the dollars that are there. These are available dollars in the fund. We're not moving money around. They're just small budget issues that occurred between advertisement and adoption.
When you said fund, I assume these aren't all coming from like utility fund. You're talking
No,
about-
these are monies that are already in the general fund or in the local road and street fund. They're there already. But you have to have two things to spend money. You have to have cash and you have to have an appropriation. We have the cash. We don't have the full appropriation that we want. So when we go to work on these road projects and we were contemplating, we need to spend $150,000 for roads, we've got $150,000. But the advertising said we were only going to do 100. So we either do that now or we do that later in the year. My thought was, let's fix these issues while we're dealing with the others and take care of them all at once. So this was properly advertised through the DLGF's website 14 days prior to today, so that you could have a public hearing to get public comment on this. But before you open the door for public comment, I'm happy to answer any questions that the council may have.
Mr. President, if I may. Mr. Higgins, how would this, in the financial strategy with our CCMG bids that came in significantly lower than what we were awarded? I don't know how it operates. Maybe Scott can help out because I see maybe an opportunity for $400,000.
No. Because your grant is that 80-20
Up to.
piece, right? Your bids came in less.
Got it.
Which means you're going to have to, at the end of the program, all things being equal, if you don't change the scope and get NDOT's approval, you're going to have to rebate part of that grant funding back to the state in the closeout. So good that you came in under, lowers your match, but it also cuts your grant. And typically what happens if you find something else that's tangentially related, that you could expand the scope of the project, NDOT may let you expand the scope. But ideally, what's going to happen at the end of the day that you're under, they're going to request that to come back in a cleanup later.
Fair enough.
So yeah, I'd like to say there's found money there that we could use for something else, but there's not.
But our outlay on that match is now reduced.
Correct.
Not a windfall, but it's something.
It's $1.
Okay, open a public hearing. It's 7:08 PM. Public hearing is now open. Everybody rush up that wants to ask questions about this. 7:09, public hearing is closed. Any further discussion? Entertain a motion.
I'll move that this council accept ordinance number 2026-0.
Suspend the rules.
We gotta suspend the rules on this one.
Yeah, suspend the rules on this one.
I'll move that we suspend the rules for the second reading concerning ordinance number 2026-0.
Second.
A motion and a second as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? No, Aaron.
I will further move that we accept ordinance number 2026-02 as presented to the council.
Second.
Motion and a second as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Passes.
And one comment, Mr. President.
Yes, sir.
Jim mentioned it, but should note, the public should note that there's, for additional appropriations, there's no longer publication in the two Hamilton County paper customarily published in. State law was changed effective January 1, then a notice is submitted to the Gateway, and Gateway, it's available on Gateway for the public. So if somebody wants to track that, the Order and Times are no longer the source of information there. And I don't know how the papers allowed that to get through the legislature. They've been fighting it for years.
I heard from papers just this last week about why we didn't advertise.
Yeah.
Pointed them to that.
Their lobbyists must have been asleep at the wheel because they've been trying to change this for years.
Last item up, our new business, the council chamber audio visual quotes. We have two bids for the audio video equipment in the remodel room next door. There's a link to both of those. Premier Group, who did install the current system that we're using, and Watson Remodel. I don't have the numbers in front of me. So if I click on this, there's this.
Premier was 54,000. 54,793.91. And Watson was 38,750.
So I did do some research today on with both of those companies. Pretty much the difference is in the equipment. They were both given the same set of instructions to quote by. They'll both do the job. I believe Watson includes 1-year service contract. Premier does not. They also sent me a message that they can update their quote with. They will be on site for the first 4 meetings to make sure there are no problems with it.
There is some statutory requirements here.
So on
Mr.
the,
Bosman and I talked today, so it may be a self-fulfilling exercise.
yeah, it actually, the $52,000 quote, or $54,000 quote, if it was accepted, you would have had to have gone through the formal process of 3 quotes a week to respond, opening them and taking the lowest responsive and responsible one. That's what I thought the only quote was. I didn't hit the other link because it was on the next page when I was looking at the agenda. So I emailed Todd and said, okay, we got a problem here. But then I was pointed to the Watson $38,750 quote, which can be accepted without a formal process. I will note there needs to be one change in it. The claims statute was changed in 2023 to allow local government to prepay a portion of services and supplies to be purchased. But that is limited to 50% of the total. If you accept this quote with Watson, their deposit will have to be reduced to $19,375 from their $21,000 request. So that will have to be a requirement to change that. Can't accept the 21,000.
That can be put in the motion, correct?
Yes,
What was that?
$19,375 for the deposit, limiting the deposit to that amount.
And it's worth noting, will be expended out of the money that you've already approved for the overall project. So it's not an additional expense. It's inside of that tranche of money you've approved over.
I did hear from Premier that it would be March before they could begin an install, and Watson can start immediately.
Watson could start with.
Immediately.
My concern with the 2 quotes is one of parity, and without cut sheets from Watson, we're not sure what equipment we're getting. For reference for the audience, for the council, just take the item of gooseneck microphones, which are listed there. Premier is listing out Shure MX series mics, which I happen to know run about $300 each. And if Watson is quoting Behringer S series mics, that's gonna run about $30 each. That is not a trade-off. I'm not saying Shure is worth the money, but I'm telling you Behringer is not worth the money with that particular setup. I don't know that there is the opportunity for delay to ensure at least similar quality equipment, but it would be a concern of mine that we receive some substandard stuff. No further comment.
Is there a performance inclusion or satisfaction agreement with this? If it doesn't perform well, if they replace or upgrade?
I believe there's a 1-year warranty on equipment and service.
There it is.
You can not accept this at the moment and ask Watson for the details that Counselor Foot mentioned. They really did inspect equipment here.
There is also offsetting concern there, I believe, in that the project is ready for this to start moving. I'll leave it up to council to weigh whether that's worth it to them or not.
Well, I'm sure there is a difference in the equipment. I don't know if it's Watson's is regarded as a low-end item. But we are talking a $21,000 difference between the two bids. I think 21's the difference. And I think that's something that should be considered in lieu of what we've just gone through today. So, I don't know where to go from there.
There's nothing else. I'd make a motion.
Make a motion.
I make a motion that we accept Watson remodeling quote for AV needs with the alteration of the deposit from $21,000 to $19,375.
I'll second that.
Have a motion and a second as presented. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed?
Aye.
Passes.
We'll put together a professional services agreement.
Okay.
Submit to them. In that one, we'll ask them also to specify the equipment.
Thank you.
Any other new business? Finance reports? You do enough for the night?
I've done enough, sir.
All right, attorney reports.
Nothing significant to report other than we have re-engaged in the discussions with Calumet regarding the street situation. We had a brief strategy discussion with the president, Mr. Bertrand, as to after we had evaluation, third-party evaluation of the claim, so we can update you on that another time.
Okay. Any general discussion items? Good in the order. Public comment. Travis Stern.
Yeah.
3 minutes, non-agenda items. Please state your name.
Would this be a bad time to ask for a temporary loan for the fire department?
Mr. President, would it be a bad time to see if they open the application process for fire chiefs?
I was gonna
No.
see if,
All jokes aside, I just want to give you an update on the FEMA disaster assistance for the storm. Director Kirby and I have been working on it today. If the it's due by 9:30 tomorrow morning, at least an estimated amount. But I just want to tell you, between normal work hours, overtime hours, equipment cost and contract cost, the storm from January 23rd up until January 31st was about a $385,000 expense. So just want to let you know what that number was. Hopefully we get 75% of that back in a couple months. You never know, but I just want to let you know that we're working on it. We'll have it submitted by 9:30 in the morning.
Any comments on the sidewalks?
I have not heard anything.
No, somebody did them.
Nate Milet from Daughters Property Service donated his time and cleaned all the sidewalks on Main Street yesterday. And so we're very grateful and thankful of that.
Yeah.
Yep.
He needs to be recognized for that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Heidi Keenholz, Sheridan Main Street, and I'd officially like to also thank Nate Milet because I walked my dogs on Main Street today, and so that was really nice that they were cleaned. I just wanted to remind everybody about our upcoming annual Main Street meeting. It's going to be taking place in this room on Thursday at 6 p.m. Anybody who wants to know about Main Street, who is from, the rural district or the town district, find out what we've been doing this past year. If you've never been on Main Street, please come and find out. If you go there every day, please come and find out. So again, it's going to be Thursday, February 5th at 6 p.m. in this room right here at the community center. Thank you very much. Oh, and light refreshments will be provided.
Thank you.
Good evening. I've met a lot of you before, but I want to officially introduce myself. My name is Amy Summerfield. I'm running for judge here in Hamilton County in the upcoming May primary. As some of you may be aware, 50% of our courts are on the upcoming primary, so it's a big season for us. I'm running for Court 3. You'll hear lots of names over the next 90 days. I'm a 20-year resident of the county. My entire career has been in civil service between serving as a deputy prosecutor and as in-house counsel for the sheriff's office. I don't want to take up any more time, but I will stay after if anybody has any questions about me or the upcoming primary. Thank you.
Better say your name again.
Amy Summerfield.
Thank you.
Amy
Good
Summerfield, Amy Summerfield.
Free political advice.
Anyone else?
Another judge candidate.
I got two things. What's Travis is back there. I did have to call 911 a couple weeks ago. I want Travis to thank, I appreciated the young lady on the telephone. I don't know who she was, but she was outstanding. The three EMTs or whatever they're called came to the house. Very professional, knew what they was doing. It was damn cold that night too. And I had a real trip to the heart center. I think I've told Travis, but I have rode better hay wagons than that thing rides. And
New one in June.
what's that?
In the new one in June, we'll give you the first ride.
No, I don't want the first. That one's enough. Before my little trip and after my little trip, I have been doing some running around like you know I do. It's a shame that we have to see these green tin cans for fiber optics in our front yards. If some people can get them buried, then the whole town and township, if there's anyone that wants them buried, we shouldn't have to ask for it. They're a pain in the neck to mow around. They're going to get hit with traffic. And they've already been hit on 236, part of them already. I don't know what a snowplow did it or what, but these tin cans can be buried with fiber optics. And I don't know what the blue one is, north of the library. There's a little Nicky blue one now showing up. I don't know what this for, but we don't need these in the front yards of this town or anywhere in this township because they can be buried. Thank you.
Glad you're doing well. You're out of the hospital. I said, I'm glad you're out of the hospital.
They didn't feed good.
Action to pay accounts payable vouchers.
I'll move that we pay the accounts payable vouchers.
Second.
A motion and a second as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Passes. Statement by council president. I want to thank all of our departments during this inclement weather. The community appreciates your efforts, and I think it went very well. I didn't hear any complaints, and usually that's all I hear, so we'll let that be, and motion to adjourn.
I move with adjourn.
Second.
Yeah, a motion and a second as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Careful getting up. Yeah, I don't need to do that. Nobody gives enough.